My goodness, what a guest we have today. I actually forgot to tell you that he is actually chairman of the Kenya Film Commission, although he didn't get an audience with Oscar-winning actress Lupita.
I'm not complaining about that. There's other people more worthy than me on that. By the way, Jeff, I've just realized, you know, tonight I actually had to go to the ATM before I came here.
Why is that?
Because I gather you had a guest here the other day and you ended up having to carry some loose to get bailed out on a Friday night, Jeff. And
so how much you gonna volunteer?
The amount you were charged. That's not within my means. I'll probably spend the weekend there. And none of my mates are going to bail me out. Do you really see Bob Collymore coming down to Central to bail me out?
Bail who?
Me.
Just say Chris what?
Chris who? Never met him. Forget it. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm short too, Mike.
By the way, something I throw this out apropos nothing in particular, but one of the things which we always used to recommend in the legal days, when somebody was sued for libel or slander, you actually encouraged your client never to sue for libel or slander unless it was so blatant, because there's a trick in law called a fishing expedition. So just say you slap me with a suit for libel or slander, the first thing my lawyers would do is say, fine, we need full disclosure on all of Jeff's bank statements, all his phone calls, everything to prove our point. By the time we've got all of that, you don't want to be seen in public.
Correct.
So it's a for somebody to actually sue for libel or slander, you've got to be whiter than the whitest knight in the world. Because the chances are that somebody, when they go for full disclosure on you, will find something that might shore up their case. And possibly. I'm saying apropos nothing in particular, but with respect to libel and slander generally.
What are you doing? Are you still practicing?
No.
Come on, man, Chris. Could you take up?
I got saved, I repented, I'm no longer a lawyer. Look at that. I'll meet my maker happily. St. Peter will let me in. Direct. Lawyers, Akando.
You were a barrister, weren't you?
I was a barrister.
What's the difference between a barrister and a solicitor?
So in the UK, you have barristers and solicitors. Barristers are the guys who go to court. We wear wigs. We do the advocacy in court. We're specialised. So I used to specialise in white-collar crime and commercial fraud. And then you have solicitors who are generalists. And barristers always look down on solicitors. Solicitors always made more money than we did. You know, it's the rule of the world. But interesting story, actually. I got a scholarship, and this is for any young person out there who's not listening to your parents about good manners. I got this scholarship because I did the exam, and we were shortlisted from about 100 people to about 10 of us. And we were called in for the interview panel. The interview panel was all these judges, Court of Appeal judges, Supreme Court judges, and my interview went appallingly. I was probably the worst person to be interviewed. Anyway, I got one of the 2 scholarships. And I met one of the judges after and I said, why did you give me the scholarship? I was the most incompetent person there. And he said, yes, indeed you were. But you were the only person who, when the secretary came out to get you, you opened the door for her. And when you left after the interview, you were the only person who opened the door for her. And one of the judges, one of the old 80-year-old judges saw it and said, give that boy a scholarship.
Come on.
So manners,
Manners.
Manners. Your boys, teach them about manners, you see. It pays off.
I like that.
Yeah.
I got to read this tweet. Just came in. I got to read this. Edward Kishkiru. Yeah. He says, you ready for this? Ma Jeff, yedogo kiukena aromat.
Goodness me, what the heck does that mean? Google Translate won't help me with that.
No, it won't. But he says, that English, man. That English is just...
Yours or mine? No, well, if you're going to speak a language, speak it properly.
Yes. And you do. Serious stuff.
Land.
What's going on? There's a new...
You know what happened, Jeff? It's very disappointing. I was involved with my other hat, which is chairman of the Kenya Landowners and Land Users Association. During all the discussions in the land policy in 2009, the Constitution 2010, the legislation after that, we helped draft a lot of the legislation, and we laid to rest a lot of the really radical, nasty stuff which has been pushed by some civic society members. And we thought that was it. The other day I walked into CIC to have a meeting with them on something, and I said, what's happening with the legislation on minimum acreages, historical injustices, evictions, leases? I said, Chris, didn't you know? We've got a bill. They're all in bills going to Parliament. And we're like, what happened to the public participation? This land is the most talismanic thing in Kenya. How can guys try and sneak that through without thinking that there's going to be hue and cry? So we're in the process now of discussing whether, how to, go to court about it.
But what is it saying?
Well, I'll give you a classic example. The minimum and maximum acreages. I mean, it is something that reads from Russia circa 1917 revolution.
No.
Land maximum land, 25 hectares. So if you want to farm in Rift Valley, Central, Laikipia, maximum 25 hectares. In a world where people realize consolidation of land and large-scale farming is how you feed people, 25 hectares. On the other extreme, you cannot subdivide your land. So if you want to subdivide your land for your kids, you have to get special county permission for that. Okay, it's ridiculous. And then on things like, I want to buy some land off you, I want to buy his plot, he wants to sell his plot, you have to go through your county to get permission to buy or sell to make sure it's good value, that somebody's not paying more or less than they should be. It is the complete Marxist utopia. How somebody had the audacity to even table that, I do not know.
What about people with thousands of acres right now? I mean, people sitting on thousands in the Rift and Central.
There's people, you know, there's some people who justifiably have large bits of land. If you're a rancher, you know, you need, for one cow, you need 50 acres. So if you're a cattle rancher, you need thousands of acres, and that's the nature of ranching.
Wheat farmers,
you know, but if you're in Mathega, you probably can't afford 1,000 acres. So to suddenly come out with this radical Marxist agenda that we don't know who drafted it, we're trying to find out. It hasn't been tabled to Parliament yet, and we're now flagging the parliamentarians and senators. I don't know. I really don't know who was sleeping on the job, but somebody needs to be fired for even letting it get that far.
Could it slide through somehow? Could it go through Parliament?
We've seen bad legislation go through. You know, you wait until there's a quorum of one man and a goat in the House. Next thing you know, it's law. So there has been some mischief here, and the worst thing about it is we know, especially living in the Rift Valley, how delicate land matters are. So to have come up with 3 bits of land legislation without public participation of any consequence is not even negligent. It goes beyond that, and we need to sit down and say, not even discuss tweaking that legislation, just throw it out and say, listen, let's start from scratch, let's end up with something that's viable and sensible. I mean, they've got things there, they haven't even included, they've zoned the country, okay, so suddenly you're sitting on a bit of land that you think is farm, and they say, oh, that's peri-urban, the county government can buy it off you now. Without your, you know, they just go and they buy it. Compulsory acquire it. Golf courses, I mean, even things like that, they've made no provision for golf courses. So recreational facilities, maximum 20 hectares or whatever it is. A golf course is, you know, 80 hectares or something. You know, there's been no thought other than to redistribute it. And it's very clear this is about the redistribution of land in Kenya. And we're not Zimbabwe.
Correct. And
how somebody thought and had the audacity to think that they could run that past people in this country for whom land is the most important, iconic thing, without there being some sort of revolution, I don't know.
And land is very emotive as well in this country, Chris.
Incredibly. Well, you see me, I'm already frothing at the mouth.
Correct.
My nostrils are flaring. So that's one of the land legislations. Then they've got the other one on long leases. You said somebody tweeted about asking about
earlier
long leases.
on.
See, the big discussion now, and we're seeing it, is what the Constitution, for all its the good bits, was fundamentally very badly drafted, and that's something I've unashamedly pointed out from year one.
You were opposed from day one, weren't you?
Because it was so shoddy, and this is a classic case. Land leases, it is not clear in the Constitution what happens to long leases. Now, there's 2 types of long leases. There's long leases that were issued in 1917 and 199 years. So technically they expire next year or the year after next.
Right.
What happens to those land leases? Now, everyone thinks, oh gosh, this refers to the tea estates, etc. Actually, the people who are most hit are people who live in Parklands, people who live in Karen, who are on GLA 99-year leases. Now, the convention has been government always renews those. In fact, the former president, Kibaki, said, of course we're going to renew that, because there were some shenanigans with people saying, we're only going to renew it if you put something in my pocket. And he gave that executive order saying renew all of them. Now there's another group of people who are trying to say no, 99 years, it's not renewable, it goes back to the county, and the National Land Commission can decide what it wants to do. And that is a recipe for disaster. And what people have to remember is that a lot of these colonial leases were large farms which have been subdivided amongst the Wananchi now who own 5 acres, 2 acres, etc. You're going to go and tell those people that they can't subdivide, they can't buy or sell without the county permission, that their leases will not be renewed without the National Land Commission's permission? Of course not.
That's a war.
That is a war. So this land is something that a few activists should not be allowed to drive the process.
Okay, those people with large tracts, those people with lots of land, why aren't they stepping in? Are they not aware? Haven't they been made aware?
Well, you know what, the fact that I, as chairman of the Landowners Association, Land Use Association, only found out about it last week, and that was courtesy of the CIC, very graciously said, Chris, they told me what had happened. We were all waiting to see the adverts in the paper, let's discuss, this is a new thing, there's a stakeholder forum, public politician, nothing.
They're sneaking a bill.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that any senators, MPs watching this, your committee members, don't even take that thing. Just throw out all those landed decisions, say go back to the people and start the discussions properly.
Chris, why don't you, I mean, look, you speak so intelligently, for lack of a better word. Why don't you stand? Why don't you stand up? But you tried to run for office.
2007-8, yeah.
Yeah. You did okay.
I did okay.
Would you do it again?
You know what? One day I would. I think we still need to evolve politically. I think our politics has gone more tribal than it's ever been.
Yeah.
And I think until that day moves, and you know, history is punctuated equilibrium. Nothing happens and then something amazing happens. And I think for a appointee like me to stand again, I maybe give it 2 terms and we'll be ready.
Another 2 terms?
1 term.
How old are you? 40?
Well, it depends who's watching. I'm moisturizer. I'm old enough to stand. Just. But yeah, you know, maybe one day. That's something I just have to pray about. I mean, I feel...
You have to. You have to, Chris.
I feel a real urge to get involved in politics in this country, but until that time that the context is right and that people will vote based on ideology and your ability to deliver and not on tribe and on handouts, then I'm not going to waste my time, because it took me about 2 years to recover from that election. It was brutal.
Really?
Yeah, you forget how brutal it is, especially in rural areas when you're campaigning. It really sucks the life out of you.
But your mother's roots, I mean, you've got roots, and I'm not being ethnic here, but you know, your mother's roots deep in the rift.
Yeah, but you know what? I think we have to go beyond that now. I think the new vision has to be, I would love to be able to stand in a county that didn't reflect my cultural heritage.
Yeah.
Then I know we've arrived.
We're going to get there?
By the grace of God.
Very good. Chris, I want to talk more after the break. We haven't touched poaching yet. And your good friend, Dr. Richard Leakey, he's smoking.
He is. It's going to be very interesting. I mean, I think it was an inspired choice to make him chairman.
Yeah. But I heard he's been reinvigorated.
Gosh, you make it sound like somebody's taken Viagra or something. But I know what you mean. No. I think I'm going straight to hell for that one.
Hold the thought.
All right.
Hold the thought. Yeah. Hold the pills.
Steady.
Going to talk about that lots more going forward. State of the nation. Keep tweeting at CKFoot. I see your tweets are coming in literally thick and fast. At CKFoot. Mine is at Koinange Jeff. The hashtag taking stock. That's what we're doing right here with this State of the Nation, looking at issues affecting this great country of ours. And also some VVIPs. We didn't talk about that. Obama, Pope.
Very interesting. Yeah.
It's going to be good.
Who'd you rather meet, the Pope or Obama? Probably easier to meet the Pope, to be honest.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But he'll get you into heaven, Obama won't. I don't know, just saying.
You're just saying?
Yeah.
Hashtag.
Hashtag.
JK, he'll take some break. Oh, by the way, my wife just texted.
Yeah.
She loves your salmon tie and salmon sauce.
It's salmon.
Well, it looks
Gosh,
salmon
no,
on TV.
If Charlotte says it's salmon, then salmon it is. Yeah.
Salmon.
I'm excited by that.
Look at you, man.
Yeah.
I need to brighten up.
No, that looks like somebody who's ready to go back in. You leave your belt and your tie and then just direct.
Industrial area.
I'll visit you once a year.
Back in a moment. Chris, you're killing me, man. You're killing me.
Sorry.